All right, welcome back. Welcome back here to another lesson. Today's lesson is going to be on medical terminology. All right. So my name is Zach, and I have this platform just for you, just for you. You're probably the first time in EMT school, emergency medical technician school, or you are in a refresher class. So welcome, welcome, welcome. This is all for you, just so you can be refreshed, or something I could just break down that you are presently doing in your class. All right, there are a million ways to explain things. I'm just trying to keep this as simple and easy as possible. And so my name is Zach, and welcome to my channel. And what I'm going to say is as I go through each lesson, you see different lessons out there. And within the lessons, I'm going to say if you have any when it comes to like protocols, because one of the sayings is medicine changes as well as protocols changes. If you don't know what a protocol is, look at some of the past lessons. I explained what a protocol is or procedure. So it changes over time. So I try to keep it as vanilla, not so much on my region, my area, but other areas, other states. So I'll say refer to your state or your region. All right, just wanted to make that clear. So let's get to work. All right, let's get to work. And at any time, while you watch this, you can actually pause it, stop it, rewind it. This is yours. This is all for you to get you through your schooling. All right, just give me a second as I put myself up here. There it is. All right, then I'm going to remove this piece and let's go. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go. All right, medical terminology. See, the thing is, it's a different language. All right. As a civilian, you're coming into a new world, a new term, a new culture, a new of everything. So terminology is important. It's like a little secret code or a secret passwords that we know. But not only is going to be EMTs as another language, we have paramedics, we also have physicians, we also have nurses, assistants, and all the people that's in the medical field usually will go through the same type of terminologies. But there's so many terminologies. I only picked a few just to give you examples. So let us begin. Let us begin. So there is a word, the root word. So these words have roots. All right. You have the main part of the word. You have an essential meaning, like a body part. All right. It gives you a lot of different clues. You could look at a word, it could be very overwhelming because it's like a large, long word, but by breaking it down, it makes a little more sense. All right. Prefix as well as suffix. Pre means before, suffix is after, and it will give you some of these clues in knowing a word. All right. Here's an example. We have cardiopulmonary. That is a large word itself. All right. Now let's break it down. So when we break it down, they are basically two root words. All right. So cardio means the root word means heart. Pulmonal is another word for lungs. Cardiopulmonary. Pulmonary. Now, when we look at it, I can add another word to it, and this might sound very familiar. If I say cardiopulmonary resuscitation, take the first letters is C, P, pulmonary, R, resuscitation, CPR. All right. So here it is. You got a new word. All right, prefix. Prefix is before or the beginning of a word. You have autopilot. You have sub means underneath. Submarine. These are just other examples of prefix. Tri means three, tricycle. The beginning of the word. So let's give you a little more. Neum is really dealing with breathing. So we have apnea. All right. We also have slow breathing. All right. Without. We have uh, Brady, which is slow, and tachy would be an example like tachycardia. Tachycardia is more pulse, but tachypnea is fast breathing. And so these prefixes is an example of creating three different words by using just neum, which is breathing. So without breathing, slow breathing, and fast breathing. All right. Suffix is the end of the words. So we have a procedure, condition, or disease. So usually the end of the word is either a procedure or a condition or a disease. So it depends on what it is. And one of the most common ones that we'll find, there are many others, is itis. Itis is not after you eat something. It's more inflammation. All right, inflammation. So let's look at this one example. This is ortho, which is joint. Arthritis, itis is the inflammation of the joints. Very simple, right? We can also look at meningitis, the meninges. We have larynx, laryngitis, all right, bronchitis. So again, these are just some examples of the itis. Now, when we combining vowels, we're going to combine them. We're going to use connecting root words or words to a suffix or just a word in its root. So now we got O, may also be the vowels E and or I. Okay, those are the joining part. Those are like bridges that joints other words and bring it together. So here we have gastro, which is stomach. And you see the O connecting. Enter, intestines. Ology, gastroenterology. All right. So gastroenterology is the stomach, intestines, the study of it. Very simple, right? Here's some other words. Parts of the word: cardio, heart, stomach, ortho, and homo, which is lungs. All right, here's another one: plural endings. This is where it's very, again, you're gonna see a type of a word and it adds a more of a plural sense. So A changes to AE, was like vertebra or vertebrae. All right. The IS changes to ES. Diagnosis or di diagnosis and diagnosis. All right. Diagnosis and diagnosis. That's another example. Then we have the US changes to the I, which is called bronchus, to bronchi. Again, changing it to a plural ending. All right, so we have numbers, we have uni, pre, me, we have multi, e, and bi. So these are just examples. Uni is one. Another example is bi is two. So we're going to see some of these. For example, I'll give you one. It's called bilateral, lateral, side, bilateral. Now there can also be colors. Cyo, right? Cyanosis is an example. Leukemia, leuco, which is white. Erythro, which is red. All right, so those are just examples of medical terminologies within colors. Now, position and direction, prefix can also describe a position, a direction, a location. All right, peri, which would be around. And you also have epi, which is above, and sub is under. All right, pericardium, or I'm just giving examples. Epiglottis, subcutaneous tissues. All right. So again, these are just prefix that help you to give you direction, position, and location. All right. Hyper, excessive. We have emesis, which is vomiting. Emesis, excessive vomiting. So basically, instead of saying excessive vomiting, you just say the medical terminology we just learned. So these are just some breakdowns. When you look at these medical terminologies, you say, oh, that makes a lot more sense because we're just breaking it down and just trying to put the pieces together to make sense to us. The anatomical positions facing forward, palms facing forward, standing straight, right, with your hands to the side, well, almost to the side, little out, and facing. So facing forward, you're going to find the arms on the side. The palms of the hands will face forward. All right, so let's do a little drawing here together. Let's see how we can do this here. Let me hit that. It's still recording. I have a little whiteboard here. Let's see if this sets up right. All right, awesome. So we're here. So let's get this. I'm been one of the top artists in my region. Not really. So I'm going to draw a person. Let's see if I could do this. All right. We draw little eyes. We'll put a little smiley face, kind of. Then we put a little mole here. A little moldy. All right, then we got the little neck. Then I'm going to exaggerate the arms. Then we're going to get the torso area here. Then do the arms again. There we go. Man, this is a masterpiece right here. Here, got the legs, and then here, let me X this out. There we go. And then voila, look at this masterpiece. All right, we got some hands and stuff like that. We'll put it right there. Little feet. All right, so this will be like the anatomical position, right? The palms are facing forward. You see this in every medical book, textbook, and you can have your textbook. So there are different things that we need to know as far as the planes, and I'm trying to keep this really simple. So let's start off with the easiest one. All right, let's do this one. I'm going to draw a line going right down the middle. It's like a broken line here, all the way to the umbilicus. All right, so this line is called the midline. Midline. So say midline. This is the midline. So now what we're going to do is two different directions. All right, I'm just doing two, 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 two. So the first one, another word that you probably saw in the textbook is called medial. That sounds familiar because it's the same thing as that letter M, medial. So medial is going towards the middle or towards the midline, medial. Now, if you're going away from the midline, we already said that this is the midline, that is called lateral. Lateral. Okay, going towards the midline, medial. Going away from the midline, lateral. Any questions? Okay. All right, so that's the medial lateral. So now I'm going to draw this little line. That's called midline. Then if I'm going towards the midline, that's called medial. Starts with the letter M. If I'm going away from the midline, that's lateral. Perfect. Let's go to another one. Here's another one. If I'm going towards the head in this direction, that is called, I put the letter S in there. That's called superior. Think about if you're working somewhere, they are supervisors, and supervisors is always above you. Okay? Superior means above, towards your head. Then the next is going to be inferior, which is towards the feet. Inferior. Okay? Superior, inferior. Then we have the midline, then we have medial, we have lateral. Now, the next thing is we're going to look at the extremities. Now, the extremities is the arms, right? The arms and the legs. If I say to you the upper extremities, that's arms. If I say lower extremities, that's legs. So here it is. So going towards the trunk or away from the trunk, this is the trunk here. So if I'm going in a distance away, far away in a distance, that's also known as distal, away in distance. Then if I'm going the opposite towards the trunk, that's called P, proximal. So we go to distal, proximal. Same thing applies to this arm or the legs too. So if I say, well, here's another example here. You have check the distal pulse. So the distal pulse will be the radial. The distal pulse will be into the feet will be the dorsalis pedis pulse. That's going away the farthest point. So again, distal is away, distance. Proximal is going towards the trunk. It applies to the upper extremities as well as the lower extremities. All right. So that's an example. Recap one more time. So we got the midline, two directions. towards the midline or away from the midline. If you're going towards the midline, that's called medial. If you go away from the midline, that's called lateral. Good. If I'm going up towards the head, that's called superior. If I go towards the feet, that's called inferior. Now we talk about the extremities, right? Going towards the trunk and away from the trunk. So going in a distance far, far away, distance, distal. Going towards the trunk, that will be proximal. So let me give you an example. This one here. So from my elbow, from here, my wrist is what? Proximal or distal? From the elbow, from the elbow, the wrist is what? And the answer is correct. It is distal. I'll give you another hard one. Ready? From the wrist, from here, the elbow is what? Proximal. Excellent. So I hope this helped you. And let me get out of here, close this up, and go right back to the presentation. Okay, we got that. And put myself back on the screen. There we go. And last but not least, there it is. And let's go back to where I was. All right, oh, here it is. Sorry about that. So art time. So we drew. So midline is that line from the nose to the umbilicus. Then we have the mid-axillary, which is on the armpit. There's an axillary line here, which is parallel to the midline. So the mid part, mid-axillary. Then we have superior, which is towards the head, inferior towards the feet, proximal towards the trunk of the body, and distal away from the trunk. Medial is towards the midline. Just look at the letter M, middle. Away, L, right, L, is lateral, away. All right, anterior, posterior. Anterior is the front of the body. And then posterior is the back or the rear of the body. All right, I got a couple of other positions. This is called prone position, laying on their front or their stomach. Then we have the supine position, which is on the spine. I like to call it supine on the spine. That's a little rhyme. So supine on this position is on the spine, literally on his back. Then this is another one that you probably see in textbooks. This is called a shock position. All right, which is the legs elevated. All right, that's what some books will refer to, maybe your book. That's an example. And this is called from a doctor after Fowler's position. This is more ideal for someone having difficulty breathing, sitting upright, knees bent. And just like a reclining chair, this is called a semi-Fowler's position. Semi-Fowler's position. All right, the Trendelenburg position is pretty much, if I get my phone here, let's say this is this actual stretcher. Let's say a patient's laying on it, and it's pretty much the whole thing is elevated. So it's not just the legs is elevated, it's actually the whole thing, the whole board, the whole stretcher, well, mainly the board, and everything's being moved. So the entire body is at the angle, and the head is lower than the feet. The left lateral recumbent position is laying on your side, which is the most common in the ambulance. So if your patient is laying on their side, this is known as the recovery position. And there it is. This would be the recovery position after a long day. This is a position I want to be in. All right, so what happens is this here is like a little kickstand. It prevents me to go on my side, or sorry, on my stomach, which is what position? That stomach. Prone position. Good. And to do this position, you got to make sure there's no neck injury, hip injury, or any other injuries that can cause spinal injuries on the hip. So this patient has to be in the medical nature with no injuries. All right, this here is like a little pillow, And this is our main concern. If I was to lay supine and I start to vomit, then guess what? That vomit can go into my airway and then I can choke and aspirate. All right. So this is just another type of position. This here is called the tripod position. Tripod, if you can't really see there, it's me leaning forward with my hands on my knees, and I'm just leaning forward. That's a seated position, leaning forward with the support of the weight in the arms. And that's a sign. Once you see someone that is looking like this means that they are having trouble breathing. I'm going to add some love. In other words, my arms is going towards the body, and someone's giving me a big hug. So my arms is towards the body. Abduction is when you taken away, or if a spaceship is above me, all right, just like in the movies, guess what happens? My arms are away, and I go right into the spaceship. Abduction, away from the body. So now we have extension, which is putting my arm out, and then flexion, which is flexing, bending my limb at the joint. All right, abbreviations. Abbreviations, the AED, Automated External Defibrillator, ALS, which is Advanced Life Support. Now, for those who've been on the field, this is just like part of your language now. But for those who are new, this is just some of the abbreviations out there. Aspirin, ASA, aspirin. BVM, bag, valve, mask. If there is a chief complaint, we spoke about that in patient assessment. If there is a chief complaint, you'll say a CC or a CVS, or CVS, that's a pharmacy. CVA is cerebral vascular accident, also known as, say it, stroke. Good. DNR, remember medical legal, we talked about that. Do not resuscitate. And dead on arrival, when someone has died on the scene prior to you reaching the scene. That's called dead on arrival. ER, emergency room. We have FX, which is fracture. GYN, gynecological. And HTP, which is excessive tension, high blood pressure. HX, which is history, and JVD, jugular venous or vein distension, and NTG or nitroglycerin, which is a medication that you will hear that more in either pharmacology or cardiovascular. All right, so I hope that this presentation helped you. Thank you for being part here. Again, you can always rewind and also go back to your lessons. And if you have any questions, just hit it down in the comments. Or if you like it, hit the like, share it with your classmates. So again, until then, we will see you in the next lesson. All right, take care.